Rep the South Side whenever you pay with your White Sox debit card from Wintrust Community Banks and score perks like free ATMs, no monthly fees, and a $300 opening bonus. Pay with pride every time with Wintrust, Chicago's bank.
Hey everybody, it's 𝗪𝗏. Welcome back to the White Sox Podcast. It is brought to you as always by Wintrust, Chicago's bank. Show your team pride with the White Sox debit card. Get yours at wintrust.com/Sox. Member FDIC. All right, on the podcast today, talking about the MLB Draft. It was last week, and I want to get into the nitty-gritty of who the White Sox drafted, especially near the top of the draft. And who better to talk to than the man who was in charge of the draft, Mike Shirley, Director of Amateur Scouting for the White Sox. He is with us today to talk about first-round pick Billy Carlson. Oh, lots of good stuff about Billy Carlson coming up here. Also, second-round pick and local guy, Jaden Fauske. And it's a draft that's getting a lot of positive reviews for the White Sox. This is from Keith Law of The Athletic. He said the White Sox had a really strong draft, a high upside class. So let's get into it with Mike Shirley of the White Sox. Here we go. All right, we're joined by Mike Shirley. Mike, I'm at a restaurant last night. A young White Sox fan comes up to me and he says, hey, I've got someone who you should get on your next podcast. You should get Mike Shirley on your next podcast and talk about the draft. And so this is John. He's a White Sox fan. And I said to John, I go, John, you know what? I already have Mike. It's like great minds think alike. Mike's coming on the podcast. I'm taping it with him today. And here you are.
Well, Chuck, thanks. I appreciate you having me. And John obviously has great foresight, and it's awesome to be here. And glad we can make him happy. We need young White Sox fans to believe in this program, and we're happy to have this thing moving forward. So thanks for having us. Chuck, most important, thanks for what you do for the White Sox. I know you live this too, so we appreciate you.
Yeah. And John has a question for you, which I'll get to later in the podcast. But let's first talk about Billy Carlson. You guys had the 10th overall pick. Did you think he was going to fall to you guys at number 10?
I think, obviously this is a long runway. Obviously, as I sit here today, we're working on the 26th class for next year. At the same point last year, Billy was starting to formulate who he was going to be. And I always call this who's going to get their place in the line when the summer's over, right? Because that's step one. By the time the summer schedule started last year, Billy was not, I want to say, at the forefront of our minds of being that type of player, right? But his growth pattern from the start to the end of the summer cycle was pretty substantial. And by the time the summer schedule had gotten over, we felt like, oh, this guy's a target. I mean, this guy's a real player. The defense is unbelievable, the athlete, all the attributes you look for. So going into the offseason, we felt really strong about Billy. I remember the guys going out early because they start so early in California, coming back and saying, hey, this guy's pretty special. No way he gets to 10. And everybody was super excited. If he gets there, we'd love to have him. Plays out just like any high school player, great program, kind of goes through some bumps in the road to eventually get him to draft day and land him. Do all the things we had to do to kind of build this out. Extremely excited. So, great day.
Yeah. His defense, you look at his the scouting scale, which goes from 20 to 80, and you see some numbers have him as high as 70.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
Where do you guys have him defensively, and how good of a defender is he at shortstop?
I mean, I think you could stretch it. I mean, in terms of, the major league scale is based off what they are at the major league level. It's hard to put an 8 on any player. It means your historical value is real. But he's a strong 7. It's just, it's easy for him. And I think you run across players that do this thing really easy. He has a mind for it too. And when you ask him, he'll tell you, I don't think about it. And I think that's how he defines himself. It's this movement patterns he doesn't even have to process. So, and I love how everyone's talked about the defense, but let's not get too far away from this guy's a really good player. the offensive skills. The ball stays in the air a long time. And when he touches it, it's just amazing how much line drive power he actually possesses. And I think predicting what that may become could be quite substantial too. So,
how good of a shortstop is he, though, in your eyes?
Oh, it's going to be. I mean, he's got a chance to be one of the best defenders in the American League Central. I think when it's all said and done, I think anytime you start predicting too far advanced in terms of the big picture of Major League Baseball, you don't want to put that on Billy's shoulders. I mean, I don't think you want to do that. I remember I was talking about 𝗵𝗀𝗃𝗍, and he's going to be this. It's lucky that he kind of turned into that. But I think those predictions can be heavy for players to kind of manufacture. So let's just say Billy is really, really talented.
I was going to follow up with this, and I'm not making the comp of him and Bobby Witt Jr. I'm not doing that. But in a way I am, because of the question I want to ask you, because you get these guys in high school and you don't know what they're going to become.
Right.
Did you scout Bobby Witt Jr. in high school?
Yes, we did. We worked very hard on him. Obviously, that was the Andrew Vaughn draft, and chasing Andrew and Bobby at the same point was pretty substantial. Bobby's a unique athlete, and you think about the body shape and how they're structurally kind of built the same. The athletes are equivalent. That's crazy. I think Bobby has an advantage on. Bobby's an elite runner as well. And Billy's a really good runner. I don't think he's at the elite level Bobby is by any means, but I do think that they're similar in a lot of ways. I think Billy's a better defender than Bobby was at the time, for sure. And I think his arm strength's above Bobby's, for sure. And when you look at the totality of his footwork and how he steps into it. And look, Bobby Witt's one of the best players in the American League, period. One of the best players in the game. I never want the player to feel like he's trying to measure himself to that. So.
Well, let's go inside the White Sox. This is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. And Mike Shirley, I want to go inside your very first meeting with Billy Carlson. What do you recall from that day you met him, and what stood out to you about him as a person, because you already saw him on the field as a player?
Well, I went out to the West Coast, and Mike Baker, an area scout, and met me at the game. We went to see Billy play. Let's just first off talk about this Corona environment he had to play in, right? It's the number one team in the country. The hype around the program was pretty substantial. You get two guys on the same team go in the first 10 picks of the draft. Substantial. Brady Ebel ends up going in the second round, or the comp round, what that ended up being. The Bingman kid is a really good player too. You have five draft picks on one high school baseball team. So the hype, the pressure, it's kind of a show. It's like LA, it's kind of Showtime-ish. And to go out there and watch him kind of perform and the expectations of the team, I thought were pretty dramatic. Mike and I waited after the game. I told Mike, hey, I want to meet Billy after the game. I want to just catch up with him and his family. Billy came over. Mike had a good relationship with him. He come over. First off, truly impressive, kind, considerate, but presence. Billy's in the room. I mean that. Had a chance to meet with his family that day. What tremendously generous people they are, kind people. When you're at the game, you're kind of watching those families kind of interact to the responses in the game. You see how loving the mother was to the little brother. You start to see this family dynamic that's kind of real, right? And I think it's really good family. I think there's a lot of trust and hard work that's kind of been put into what Billy the player has become, but you can see the personal skills are real. So.
And I read that he was not just a player on this team. He was recruiting. He was recruiting guys to play on this team. Can you elaborate on what this was?
He touched on that in the combine a little bit, about, obviously I don't always understand the California dynamic high school, how that recruitment process works, but they're supposedly kind of on the outskirts of how they can recruit. And I think Billy kind of grew up on that summer circuit with being famous, a really good player. So he had a little reach out there. He could, Billy's got that. He got that personality to him that Billy Carlson asked. You might think about saying yes. So everyone, good skills.
What kind of leadership qualities does he have?
I think he's there. I think Tony Vitello had told me one thing about him. He was committed to go to Tennessee, and he said Billy's presence has a way of kind of making people a little uncomfortable because there's so much presentation to him some of the physical attributes he brings, the skill talent he brings, and his expectations of himself and how hard he's going to push himself. I think those things kind of blend together, and I think you're going to get a real leader. But Chuck, you also know when you're really talented like that, people have a chance to go, oh, that guy's a really good player. I'm going to try to be like that. So,
is there a game or a moment that you saw of him that stands out?
Yeah, I mean, we were in Cary. They came to Cary, North Carolina, and played in the USA Invitational this year, then HSI. I just thought he handled it extremely well. In California, you don't get a chance to see on-the-field batting practice before the games. It's a state regulation there. So by them coming to NHSI, we had a chance to actually watch him go through the process of BP infield, a full day's work of how we scout and evaluate players. It was substantial. Walks on the field, the presence real. The batting practice was unbelievable. The ability to use the other half of the field as opposite half. He was driving balls out of the ballpark to right center, which I thought was something we were really clued in on. Okay, what are we really going to get out of this guy in that environment? He showed the high-end ability to do it. And just like the at-bats were really good, the defense is good, just the athlete, the runner, everything kind of came together.
His mom's from Mexico.
Yes.
Does he speak Spanish?
A little bit, I believe. I mean, he told me just a touch. So I asked him about this. So we had this private workout at the University of Tennessee late in the process. And, Billy and Steele Hall were both there, right? So Steele went 9 and Billy goes 10. So this is a pretty special moment. You get these two players on the field together working out at the same time. And I was asking, kind of pushing on both of them about, okay, this should be fun. Let's see what this is about, right? I kind of challenged both of them on, hey, when you get professional baseball, you're going to run into players from the Latin American culture that have real baseball actions, the foot speed, the quickness, the actions, the glove, the ball. And Billy's like, well, I have that. My mom's from Mexico. So he claimed it right away, right?
Yeah.
So I think he embraces it, and he embraces that culture, and I think he'll represent extremely well. So.
He said he's barely scratched the surface of his offense, and you were touching on that. What does he need to do to refine his swing and get to a place where this is a major league ready bat?
Chuck, this is last Wednesday, so it's 2 days after the draft. I live on Eastern time. I wake up that morning 7 a.m. There's text messages from 2:33 a.m. Eastern from Billy Carlson. He's sending me videos of his swing. He was already buying into some of the process he needed to do in terms of how he creates space. He knows that space needs a little bit tighter with his stride. He's already this is what I mean. He's already going. And I just sent him a text the next morning. I'm like, well, I love this. You know what I mean? He just responds back. He's that engaged. I mean, he just has that kind of personality that he's kind of dove in, and I think he'll do whatever it takes to be a really good player.
What is the ceiling for him? What gives you the confidence also that he'll be able to reach his ceiling?
No, like I said, I think you start to believe in the kid, right? The presentation when you meet him and his family at his high school, when he walks into Knoxville that day to work out. When I say he was super challenged to show everybody at the workout he was the best player, it was real. To see him send you text messages at 2:33 in the morning to show you he's working. He was in Chicago last night, and he went to dinner with Garrett Guest, our assistant scouting director, and 3 other draft picks, right? And even Garrett said, man, he just has a way about him. And I think that when you have that much presentation and you have that much ability, I just think it's going to be a lot easier for him to get to the high end of what his ceiling is.
One more question about him, then I want to move on. Are you guys close to signing him?
I believe Billy should. Well, today is Wednesday. That he's getting to Arizona today, so the contract should be getting done within the next 10, 12 hours. I hope.
Okay. And where would? What's
done.
That?
So I hope it's done. I mean, but I've not got official affirmation yet, so I can't claim it just yet.
Okay. And where would he start in the minor leagues, do you think, or is that more of a 𝗵 𝗠liche question?
That's 𝗵 𝗠liche. I mean, that's just like making sure he's, how he feels, how he responds, where it goes. Like, what's the initial touch point? They have that bridge camp they have in Arizona, probably starts there. Any high school player should start there. You don't want to move them too fast, let them get comfortable. The greatest thing about, like, performing well, it kind of builds this thing called confidence, and confidence is a huge driver. So I think always starting them where they're really comfortable and they can get their confidence built, that's critical.
That sounds like 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. All right, back-to-back prep bats. That's what you guys do. Jaden Fauske was next. Local kid from Willowbrook Nazareth Academy. What attracted you? I mean, you guys have been watching him and following him for years, but what made you guys pull the trigger and say Jaden's our guy?
Just the bat. I mean, I think it's the whole growth pattern he showed from last summer to where he actually ended up by draft day was pretty substantial. And I think when a player has that kind of ability to move his game that far forward, that fast, it shows you that the things are coming together. I've always said this about Northern kids. If they're not defining themselves in their senior year, you're not seeing these huge growth patterns in their senior year, you probably need to let that player go to school. So I think that he checked all those boxes that we require, that especially for me, that I require him to do. And he's really mature with his approach. Like I always say, 𝗵𝗶𝘶𝗶𝗃 was one of the greatest singles hitter the other way when he wasn't doing great. He would just flip a single the other way. These are traits I saw Jaden do this spring. I thought that were really special. He'd get behind the count, boom, single the other way. I seen him had a tough day one day. I saw him respond. He's not afraid. When you meet the kid, he's pretty serious in terms of his project he's trying to create. So that was kind of attractive too. That's how dedicated he is to his craft.
How hard was Jim Thome pounding the table for you to draft him?
I think I said this was really kind of delicate for Jimmy, and he handled it really well. First off, he's a Hall of Famer, right? So he has his own concept of the game that's just kind of unique. But he was a real fan of the kid. But he had also had a ton of respect for. He coached the kid, right? So when you build these relationships and you have these coach-player relationships that are kind of intimate, he protected those as well. I think that's just says so much character about who Jim Thome is, who we know is a great human to begin with. And he kind of balanced them both well. But he was a fan. I mean, a huge fan.
You guys seem to be leaning into this, hey, if he's from Chicago and he's a White Sox fan on top of it, let's not shy away from it. Let's bring him in and let's have him be a part of this because it's in his blood. And I mean, his favorite players are like 𝗍𝗏𝗃 𝗍𝗏𝗃, Alexis Ramirez, Adam Eaton, Tim Anderson. Did that play a part in your selecting of him? Or if it didn't, what kind of part did that play?
Well, I mean, obviously your geographical location never determines, that is never the final box whether we select you. So let's just get that straight. I've talked about, in the city of Chicago, J.J. Lally lives there. Garrett Guest lives there. Robbie Cummins lives there. 3 guys that work extremely hard in our staff, right? And I always felt like that being an area scout, too, when I started my career, had the city as well. I always felt like, man, if players fit this type of profile and they're that talented, all we should ensure that we do is do the work it takes to evaluate the player to the same intent the kids in South Florida get or the kids in Southern Cal get, to make sure it's a balanced equation. This is our home base. So when the players in that city have that talent, the White Sox will show up, and we will be committed to the process. What more can we do for our fan base, Chuck, than that? But to serve them, isn't that what they live and die with this also. So we want to make sure that we do our part.
As a fan, something that I've just noticed is, it's kind of a feeling that I have, and I would love to see. And I mean, you're just drafting, right? But this is something that as you were talking there, I thought about when the White Sox won the World Series in 2005. I would look into that dugout, and I saw a coaching staff that knew what it meant to be a member of the White Sox because the coaching staff had White Sox players. We had coaches that were White Sox players. Yeah. And if talking about Jaden, and George Walco get to Chicago, they're going to know what it means to be on the White Sox. And I would love to see that become a thing for the White Sox. I'm not saying Chris Getz needs to hire coaches who play for the Sox, although it wouldn't help. I mean, it wouldn't hurt, I should say. It wouldn't hurt. But is that something that means something to you guys?
I mean, obviously we care about our city, so that's number one. You care about your brand. You care about what we represent with Jerry Reinsdorf. But you think about Greg Walker and all those great coaches from back in that day, Mike Ellinger, all the great White Sox people that had actually been a part of that for years. Ozzie obviously leading that charge. Those are special moments in White Sox history. I don't think, Chuck, I'll be honest, I know 𝗰𝗶𝗹 cares as much as anybody. I mean, it doesn't.
Right, I know.
He came in the draft room last week and it was unbelievable how much he cares and what he's trying to invest in that process with us, right? So, I mean, I know all those coaches are bought in, and Ethan Katz has been a tremendous support piece for all of us in scouting as well. So, I don't think that. One more thing on Jaden. He caught in high school. He's going to go into the outfield, I guess, with you guys. Is that the plan with him? Yeah, I don't think any roadmap's closed on a player, right? He's still young in his career. We got to figure out the best source situation for Jaden to grow on the player we want him to be, most importantly. So that we want to start him in the center field and see where it goes from there. We know the catching's in his background, so there's an opportunity if that happens in the future, maybe we can get there to that. But right now it's center field.
Right, Kyle Lodise, is that how you pronounce his name?
Oh, yeah, the Georgia Tech Flash.
Yeah. So I'm going to use a little 𝗵 Harrelson catchphrase here. It sounds like he's got a lot of TWTW.
Oh, yeah, without question. Chuck, this guy sit down, probably the best interview at the Combine. I mean, mature, organized, goals, and dedication to reaching every one of those goals. You just got that presence, right? You're a leader. You made a difference in your own career this year to really kind of, and the story's special, Division II guy, Division I guy, now third-round draft pick. I think you'd be called those underdogs, guys you want to go to war with. So sounds like he's that guy.
How is he organized in your meeting with him?
Just pure calm, pure like velvet coming off his lips with every word he said. I mean, you get polish, right?
Yeah.
And when they show you the organization to be polished with their words, polished with their delivery, that means they're prepared, right? Mm-hmm. And preparation, we know, can sometimes overcome talent in a lot of ways, and I think he kind of checks those boxes. But he's a really good baseball player. He defends. I mean, the power is really starting to come. We think physically he's got room for growth, and the way he touches it, his instincts. When you play that baseball at that level, it's called winning games. Players like that, they kind of help you win games. So it should be fun.
All right, here's the speed round. I want to go through as many guys as I can.
Awesome.
Landon Hodge, an 18-year-old catcher from Encino, California. What did you like about him?
Athletic, left-handed bat, right-handed bat, does it all. The type of tools that you buy out of these young athletic high school catchers that we've shied away from. Great story, was originally committed to Stanford. He's got that kind of mindset. A lot of obstacles he's overcome in his life. So we just think there's a leader in there and there's real ability. So excited for him.
There seems to be a common theme with what you guys are trying to get. The makeup. Is that something that is central to your search for turning this franchise around?
Yeah, I think you have winners, Chuck. I think we all witness what it takes when players aren't always motivated to that. We don't want to go through that again. We witness that, right? So we want to make sure we're bringing the right people into the program. It's important to Chris. Chris is adamant about players that want to be here, players want to do it the right way.
Gabe Davis, a 6'9" pitcher from Oklahoma State. Great stuff. He's had some injury issues. Tell us more about Gabe.
Just huge stuff. I mean, I think we're so tapping into it a little bit, what he's going to become when he's fully healthy. He's had some things get in his way, but when he's right, it's substantial, big-time stuff, big-time heater, big-time change-up. So we think his runway to be impactful, he's got the engine to do it. That was one thing Brian Bannister stated. He's like, Mike, this guy's got an engine. The engine we're chasing, and that's kind of worked out really well for us.
How much did Brian Bannister and Ryan Fuller play a part in this draft with you guys?
Chuck, they're involved Gene Watson's involved, David Keller's involved, the entire staff is involved, Chris is involved, Josh is involved, Paul's involved. I mean, it's everybody. It's R&D. It's everybody working their tail off to get it right. I mean, that's what everybody thinks we're just, no, man, it's full steam ahead. So.
Okay. We got Florida infielder Colby Shelton. He only slashed 377, 458, 606 at Florida last season. He had some injuries, or an injury, at a hamate bone injury. What can you share about Colby?
You know, it's interesting. You know, his freshman year at Alabama, he had like 20-plus home runs as a freshman in the SEC. Quite substantial. And then his sophomore year, he transferred to Florida in that whole NIL portal thing that's going on. Got to the power, but the strikeouts were too much. This year, he changes the entire profile, reduces the strikeouts, and becomes more of a contact guy. So we feel like we're going to get this blend of hit and power out of a middle infielder that could be substantial. And that left-hand hit, left-handed bat, something we found really attractive in that realm. So.
When the day two is over and you just looked at who you got, like all the players you got that are coming into the system, what kind of came to your mind about the additions and the health of the White Sox farm system?
Well, I just think we reach for the right athletic ceiling that has to have impact, mixed with the makeup and the baseball skills, people that show instinctive value to help you win games. And I think that matters. But I don't think it's short on tools. I think that's the most important part for me, is that, like, you know, you have so much complexity to how you're selecting players with R&D involved and evaluation. But I like the fact that at the end of the day, our scouts had gut feels. They believed in the tools of the players, and the tools weren't lonely. The tools had instincts attached to them. Those are the things I chase. I mean, that's the reason I love scouting, is because I want to go find players with tools, guys that have upside. If you don't want to do that, what the hell am I doing? You know. So.
All right, so I want to go back to I'm having dinner last night, and John comes up to me, young Sox fan. I'm guessing he's like 22, 23 years old. He wanted you to have you on the podcast, and he said, "Ask Mike about the 2026 draft."
Oh man, we're working hard on that right now.
And that's what's amazing, by the way, that you just finished 25, and like you had like 1 second to breathe, and you're already on 26.
Yeah, it doesn't stop. And that's a great, I mean, we're talking about Brock Chalowski and Justin LeBron. That college shortstop group is really strong. I think the high school group, just getting our first touch of it, just today was my first day looking at it in totality, and it's got special players in it. And it should be fun. That Lombard kid, you know, looks like he's going to be a special player. So you start to see these things kind of meshed together. The Emerson kid out of Texas had a good day today. So you start to really start peeling their layers back. And we'll spend, we've been working on it most of summer. We have to do some of it before the draft actually goes on. And then it'll be full steam ahead through the month of August.
And because the Rockies cannot be in the lottery this year, I mean, they're going to be in the situation you were, this year. So going forward to next year, you'll be back in the lottery unless you have quite the turnaround here in the second half. But so there's a chance you're going to be 1, 2, or 3 in next year's draft. How exciting is that for you?
I think it's exciting. That's something that Dan Fabian, sent me. He just sent a text to us, and he had put his board together for next year, and he had X'd out the number of teams that couldn't be in there, right? So you do start to realize that your chances to pick higher in the draft should be elevated next year.
How many teams can't be in the lottery then?
I think it was 4 is what I was kind of looking at. So don't hold me 100% accurate there,
right.
But it looked like it was like 3 or 4 teams that couldn't be in there for next year. So, I mean, the chances are growing, right?
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, hey, this is great catching up with you, seeing what you have. It's exciting, and White Sox fans have been through a lot of pain over the last few years, and you're here to give us some hope. And I think there's a lot of weight behind what you're saying and what you're finding for the future. Anything you want to say before you wrap things up?
No, I'm just gracious. I mean, it's not easy. I mean, it's not easy building a major league franchise, right? You got to do it through the draft. You can't do it all through the draft. Trades, Gene Watson doing his part from pro acquisitions, how you constantly build this player development system that works. I think everybody is we're working hard together. I think that's the thing Chris is imparted on all of us. This trust, professionalism, execution part, we all have to get together. We have to work hard together to build this thing out. And I do like where the organization is headed. He's brought in some amazing people that are doing amazing things, and it's starting to line up for the White Sox. I feel the pain too, Chuck. I mean, I think we all do. We're not immune to it, and we want to give our fans what they deserve. So awesome. If we do our part, that's awesome. So.
Mike, Shirley, thanks for the time. I appreciate it. The work never ends, and you're in North Carolina today. What's next on the agenda? What's the next city you go to?
We have one more day here tomorrow. I got to hit that Cape Cod League for a few days. I got to get the East Coast Pro on the 30th. Is it July 30th, I believe? And then you got area code after that. You got the Major League Baseball High School All-Star Game. You got Perfect Game, All-American Game. You have Team USA will cut their roster down to 40, like August 23 through 25th. Back at that. It's just this.
The work of a scout.
Yeah, Chuck. It's a real program. Later draft has changed the dynamic a lot of how the schedule actually works.
Yeah. All right, Mike Shirley here on the White Sox Podcast. Thanks again for all that you do, and looking forward to watching these guys in the minor leagues and getting to Chicago. 𝗏 𝗏𝗄𝗋, take it away.
All right, Art Chuck, this edition of the White Sox Podcast is over.